Hello everyone. Today, let's talk about competition analysis. In our subsequent presentations, we spoke about the journey of an entrepreneur, how it looks like, how entrepreneur zero down the process of identifying the right option in front of him, how he assess the market assessment, how he understand what is good for him, how he identifies the market analysis and conducts a critical study of the potential of a new product or service or idea which is required to be launched, how the entrepreneur educate himself about the needs of the market, and how he assess that what market wants, how he identifies the barriers, the pitfalls which he may have to face. Hence, the entrepreneur identifies the need and modifies his strategies and develop a map or a plan to move forward. Before moving forward, any entrepreneur, whenever he plans to enter into a market, launch a new product, make an investment, or start with a new business, he conducts a market assessment. He often tries to understand what is the gap which he needs to fill through his product, how his new product would look like, the packaging, labeling, acceptance, what the campaign or the communication would be. When the adequate research is going on, he always try to assess and understand how the competition looks like. What is the parallel substitution of his product which is already available in the market through his competition beforehand? He needs to assess that what is the problem that very product has, where the gap is there in the market. That identification is very crucial step. It requires a lot of money, time, energy, because every entrepreneur needs to understand that time is money. If the research goes wrong about the gap analysis, he or she would never be able to tap into the right market, would never be able to assess what what is the USP of his competition and where the competition is lacking. So if the study is done right, if the survey is done right, if the analysis of situation is right, if the communication has been dealt well with the right experience and expertise, and the outcome or the understanding has been done in the right manner by collecting the right relevant data, being able to do the right assessment, being able to collect the right feedback from the market, being able to do the right online surveys or research. That is where any entrepreneur is being able to create a right frame of action, by being able to satisfy the qualitative as well as quantitative answers which are need to be answered at the time of a launch of a product. Whenever you are doing your market assessment, you need to know your competition well. You need to know the fundamentals of the competitive strategies. You need to understand how to create the right value for consumer. You need to create the right balance between the competition or competitive organization which are already there in the market and who are creating or who has already been supplying the same prototype of the product. So what is the importance of a competition analysis? One, of course, you need to understand prior in hand so that you can make the necessary market decisions. You need to assess what is your short term and long term objective. You need to make wise decision by doing the right assessment, and thereby you're able to generate a right marketing plan by finding all the previous steps which need to be applied to form a marketing plan. You should be able to achieve the objective of the product. To obtain the objective of the project, the plan has to be tailor-made to your product or services. And by the end, you must be able to recognize all the unrecognized problems which needs to be catered to, which needs to be solved. So the funnel marketing plan will give the entrepreneur a plan and how to be successful in the new market with the new product, with the current competition, how to survive, how to handle the slow growth. Because when any product is evolving, whenever you step into the right market mix by having the right product at the right place at the right time with the right price, right, at that time every product has its own growth journey. Product evolves, product has a development stage, product has a growth cycle, and then product has a saturation stage, and then product has a decline. So every company has a growth process. It could be slow, it could be fast, but exploiting the opportunities lead to a good percentage of growth. When you are able to uncover all the key factors which are required to beat the competition by knowing your competition well, knowing his product well, you will be able to improvise on the quality of your product by taking the right decision at the right time. For that, you would be needing the primary market research and the secondary market research. Primary market research would be you would be collecting data through surveys, questionnaires, interviews, by focus groups, and the secondary market data would be through research companies, books, online information. But the moral of the story is you have to remain competitive, you have to stay competitive, and you have to avoid the surprises. Well, surprises is that your competition is sitting on a creativity and innovation and you are not aware of it. You are not aware of the environmental scanning which is required. You are not aware of the change in the government policies which is required. So the questions which you need to answer before the analysis, that is, against whom are we competing? Who is our direct competition? Second, who is our indirect competition? From the adjacent demographics, you would be facing a lot of indirect competition. So you need to understand the indirect competition as well, which can be a closer substitute to your product. What are the strengths and weaknesses do they possess? You need to know their USP. You need to know their objectives. What strategies are they pursuing and how successful are they in it? Are you being able to do the pestle analysis? Are they working on any principles of innovation where your company is lacking into? What is your approach to the industry analysis in comparison to your competitors' approach to industry analysis? What is your market assessment? What are the business opportunities they are tapping on? And how are they likely to behave and how are they likely to lead to offensive moves? When we are trying to understand against whom are we competing, the first competition is always with yourself. You are already competing with your own product, your own brand image, your own style, your own identity, your own risks and opportunities. Then you are competing with the current competitors. You are competing with the latest competitors who are innovators. So technically, the assessment helps you becoming more systematic when you are trying to understand the real-time market conditions by gathering the market size, the competition size, the potential customer base, the income level base. For everything, you need to generate the right indexes so that you are able to come down to the conclusion. You are being able to assess the right data, the market growth rate, the trends, the opportunities, the risk areas, the key players who are creating a right shift in the market. Here let's discuss about the Intel company, which has been dominating the chip industry, is very successful. Its strategy is to focus on the superior value and it has a huge focus on the research and development investment. It is continuously changing the market need, and Intel is adapting to the real time changing market needs by the continuous creativity and innovation. And for this very reason, Intel is capitalizing on the internet now. So, the moral of the story is they have been able to create a competitive advantage for themselves. They have been able to cater to competition in a different way. They have taken the market to surprise by giving the real time competitive offer and value for money to their customer, where their customers are technologically risk free and they have more opportunities with the company by consuming their products. When we are talking about competitive analysis, it is the process of identifying your key competitors, assessing their objectives, strategies, trends, weaknesses. So, technically, when we are trying to understand our competition well, we are just trying to understand the growth opportunities we can have in the same market scenario, which is already being catered by the key players already. You need to know where the gap is. You need to be confident about your venture. And you need to develop a sustainable market plan so that you are able to have the right competitive advantage over the competition. But whenever we are talking about taking the lead, we are always talking about analyzing the competition, identifying, assessing, creating strategies, understanding their weaknesses, selecting the right attack to avoid the competition. We are identifying the processes, we are identifying the technologies, identifying what their goodwill they are sitting on, how well you will be able to capitalize on, what the real time market scenario is, how the profile of your existing customer would like to is likely to shift to the new product or new services you are looking forward to launch. So for that you need to assess your area of interest well. You need to know where you can create a competitive advantage by being there on a right timing, by favoring the market with the right entry, with the right move. So for that, you need to always have a right tap on the opportunity which is there in the market. Whenever we are talking about competition, competition is always there with his products and services. There is always a substitute of your product available, and there are manufacturers and suppliers who are continuously delivering the same service which is catering to the same spending powers. So you are likely to get replaced every moment. When the market is full of unlimited opportunities, you have to be on your toes all the time because your competition is collecting your information. Before they are on toes, you need to assess how you can very well collect the know how of your competition, assess their weaknesses, and you can capitalize on your market share. You can leverage your cost and profit levels by having the right quality of the product and commit the right return on investment to the consumers. Let's understand how do you analyze your competitor's strength. Whenever we try to assess the competitor's strengths, these are the certain parameters any company assess on. What is the competitive stance any company is standing on? What are the price levels of the product you are sitting, like you're likely to get replaced with, or you are sitting in competition with? What is the brand recognition of your competitor? What are the various distribution networks they are consuming, because of which they are already market leaders? What is their after sales service network? How their promotions look like? How their public relations look like? What is the strategic focus they are sitting on? What are the skills, technologies they are catering to or they are using to make their product more innovative and more sufficient or more efficient? What is the financial sustainability they are sitting on? What are the technological skills they are adaptive to? and how their new product innovation is taking their product to a different level by having the right price level and right brand recognition. For that, you need to identify and evaluate your competitors' strength and weakness. Well, often SWOT analysis is the industry keyword where everybody tries to understand that okay, if it is strength, strengths will be helpful to the organization. If it is weakness, it would be harmful. Well, as a right entrepreneur or as a right key player, as a person who has the ability to analyze the market condition or who has an ability to identify the negative issues of somebody else and can utilize those weaknesses to generate risks for them and opportunities for yourself by identify the positive issues which has more areas of strength and which can have the right competitive advantage for your company. But for everything, every entrepreneur need to have an eye on design, quality, performance, product line, pricing, promotion, reputation, literature, knowledge, expertise, coverage, public relations, service level, performance level. So when we are trying to assess more about the competition, we need to assess the approach to competitive structure analysis. Whenever we are trying to assess the competition or we are trying to assess the product of a competition or the product which is there, which is already there in the market as the substitute to your product, you need to understand the bargaining power of a supplier, bargaining power of a customer. You need to understand the customer loyalty based to your very product, and you have to have a continuous eye on a new entrants and the substitutes to the products and services which is available in the market. So the threats of new entry would look like the existence of barriers to entry, brand equity, switching costs, capital requirements, access to distribution, absolute cost advantages, government policies. This is a threat of a new entrant. Every entrepreneur needs to undergo this process because there would be a time when he would be new in the market. There would be a competitive rivalry already because a competition who is already there in the market since long, that person or that industry has a capacity, has broken all the barriers, who's already been there, done that, who has already informally competed and completed his journey, been able to sustain the real-time brand equity and is there with the fixed cost allocation per value added. So when there is a sustainability in a business, that is where the competitor is very, very strong. Competitor is already standing in front of you with a rivalry. You need to be a game changer. How will you be? How your strategy would be? Your strategy would be you need to find new user for your product. You need to discover new promotion methods. You need to encourage new types of product usages. You need to protect your market share and expand it through continuous innovation. You need to expand the market share and rise the profitability and market share of your company. Pepsi is another example who emerged as a market leader when there was a huge chaos of Coke being the market leader already. So how they were able to obtain? They were able to obtain by focusing on improving profits instead of market share. There are two ways to capture the market. Either you are working in economy of scale, you are trying to have huge production and you're working on limited margins, or you're working on higher margins and limited production. Pepsi worked in a different strategy. They learned everything from the market leaders' experience and they were able to improvise on the leaders' offerings. They were able to become a market leader with a strong profitability. Here are some other examples. How these companies became market leader by identifying the niche market segments for themselves or niche market subsegments for themselves, having continuous good strategy, high margins, being able to customize the product as per the market need, and balance the customer and competitor orientation, where your company is not just customer centric, your company is competitor centric as well. You exactly know what is your competition doing, your customer wants, and your market needs. Then comes your supply power, your distribution network, which has to be very, very strong to have a indisputed competitive advantage over your competition. You need to know the buying power of the consumer. You have to have an ability to backward integrate so that your customer can become more resourceful to consume your product. Then comes threat of substitution. In any growing economy, this threat will always be there when buyer is looking forward to switch because of cost, and where you will be able to hold your buyer back through the customer loyal base or through the right product differentiation. Then you need to assess the comparison of value added components which are required across the product life cycle. How companies are being able to maximize on their profit through marketing, through technical advancements, through administrative costs, through variable cost, and how competitively they are being able to maintain relations in the healthy atmosphere of the competition, how they are being able to sustain the conflict, competition, coexistence, where your competition is also already there in the market and having a healthy play, where you have been able to cooperate in the market and collusion is always being able to sustain that. What makes a competitor vulnerable? A lack of cash, low margins, poor growth, high cost, overdependence on one market, or people problem. So you exactly need to know where your competition is lacking. And the type of competitors could be the relaxed competitor, the tiger competitor, selective competitor, unpredictable competitor. Any entrepreneur need to have an eye on every type of competitor, because you never know who is trying to create a competitive advantage in the market. So, on a rival firm, you have to have a bull's eye on every time. With this note, that's it for today. I hope every emerging entrepreneur will try to use these notes to take his vision ahead and being able to capitalize on market assessment and competition analysis. That's it for today. Thank you so much.